Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
What the hell is going on? These last 24 hours have been absolutely insane in New York Mets land, as it seems maybe just 12 hours ago, we got the terrible, awful news that the Dodgers continue to ruin baseball, the entire sport as we know it, for the rest of the league after swooping in and stealing Kyle Tucker out from under the Mets and even really the Toronto Blue Jays as well. And I woke up this morning, I'm not even going to lie to you guys, I almost felt like hungover. I had a deep sleep, but not a peaceful and restful one. And I woke up feeling like garbage this morning, knowing that the Mets' path to contending in the National League again was going to be very difficult, if not impossible, considering what's going on out there on the West Coast. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the Mets have agreed to a 3-year, $126 million deal with Bo Bichette, a guy that they have not been linked to whatsoever this entire offseason. And even to remind you, over the last week, we had heard that Bo Bichette had been talking with the Philadelphia Phillies that he might be getting a decade-long $300 million deal from Philadelphia and that they were the outright favorites. Ken Rosenthal, who has been wrong about just about everything so far here this winter, continued to beat the drum that the Phillies were the favorites to land Bo Bichette. And of course, there was always the possibility after the Blue Jays missing out on signing Kyle Tucker last night that maybe they would return to Bo Bichette, who was very nearly their World Series hero last year, with their tail tucked between their legs, and say, hey, look, we had to do our due diligence on Tucker. He's a great player, and we'd like to see if we can come back to an agreement here with you. But out of nowhere, from the top rope, the Mets have landed Bo Bichette. 3 years, $126 million. We're going to break it down all right now. We know there are some opt-outs in this deal. We know the Mets plan for him to be their third baseman, so we are going to talk about everything. I'm going to share my screen here with you, and we're going to go through all the information that we have here based on the report. This is out of nowhere. Like I said, I am shocked by this, but good news. The Mets just got a lot better. How much better? We'll see. Enough to contend again in the National League? I'm not so sure. There's still a lot of moves I think that need to be done, but this is a big move, no doubt about it. Guys, what is up? I'm Tony Metro, Daily Mets content here. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to that goal of 6K subscribers by opening day. You guys have been awesome about that. Thank you so much for doing that. Leave this video a like. That is another way that you can continue to help me out here on the channel. So thank you so much for doing that. And if you want to follow me on my other platforms, you may be catching this on X, formerly known as Twitter right now. But if you're watching on YouTube, you can also follow me on all the other social medias. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, links to all of those are in the description of this video down below. Let's go to the chat. I think we're going to have some relatively happy Mets fans coming off of what looked like the darkest night last night with Tucker going to Los Angeles. What do they say? It's always darkest before the dawn, right? Well, I'm not ready to put the Mets over the top by any means, but this one really has caught me off guard, caught me sideways. I was not expecting the Mets to be in on Bo Bichette, despite a lot of you guys here in the comments, a lot of my viewers and subscribers suggesting it. I just never thought it was a realistic possibility, with the Mets never really being linked to him and not really having a true opening or spot for him on their roster. But here we are. T Petro, LFGM. Love it. Frankie Diaz. What's up, Tony? What a clever pivot. Sneaky good move. Bo is a really good hitter. Bo is a very good hitter. We know he just had a really good season there with Toronto. Very nearly was a postseason hero for them. Really strong World Series performance from him as well. And this seems kind of like a similar deal to what Kyle Tucker just got. The high average annual value, the short-term commitment. So maybe the Mets were working the phones on Bichette even while still talking to Kyle Tucker. And then once they got the news that Tucker was going to LA, they were able to give their full attention to Bo Bichette. That, or maybe they just picked up the phone this morning or late last night after learning about Tucker choosing the Dodgers and were able to get Bichette Bichette on this, but again, this is just shocking. Again, with the Phillies seeming to be the leaders in the clubhouse for Bo Bichette all of this last week, and it was sounding like a long-term deal, maybe $300 million, which is kind of what Bichette was seeking at the beginning of this winter. And for the Mets to come in with this kind of deal, I am really caught off guard by it. JC, okay, that eases the pain somewhat. Love Bo. Go trade for Duran now for center field and a pitcher. Dare I say Skubal? I still don't think Skubal's a realistic possibility. That would be awesome, but it is going to be just cost you the moon to get a guy like Skubal. As far as Duran, that would be pretty cool. Put him in center field, I guess, because it sounds like Brett Beatty is going to start learning some outfield there, buddy, right? You know that meme? He's going to be playing some left field, and the Mets have said that they're expecting Brett Beatty to play multiple positions for this team moving forward, which is really interesting because it seemed like he was going to be the guy at third base at this point, but Bo Bichette is going to transition from shortstop to third base for the Mets and create a left side of the infield of Lindor, Bo Bichette. But you find a way to fit a bat like Bichette's into your lineup, especially after you lost Pete Alonso this offseason. I think the Mets have done well enough to replace Nimmo's production with Jorge Polanco, obviously different positions. And I think Marcus Semien can be just as good, if not better, than Jeff McNeil. I'll actually venture to say better, and that's not even including that he'll be better defensively at second base than anything the Mets got there last year. So look, we're getting a little bit closer at least to what the lineup looked like last year. I wouldn't quite say it's as good, but Bo Bichette's a little bit more well-rounded of an all-around hitter than even Pete Alonso is. He's not as much of a power threat, but will hit for a higher average, can put the ball in play a little bit more. A little bit more athletic, obviously, and hopefully now he's going to transition to third base well defensively. Let's see, tie ball, Bob Nightingale. He was the one that broke it. Wow, okay, so hopefully we're not getting duped here by good old Bobby Boy. We know he's had a couple that he just missed on in the past, but hopefully that's not the case here. So I saw it was from Jeff Passan, from John Heyman, and I'm going to get back to the chat here, but I want to make sure we have all of our ducks in a row. It is a 3-year, $126 million contract. So John Heyman saying sources Bo Bichette will play third base for the Mets. So again, it sounds like Brett Beatty is going to kind of roam around the field. He has played some second base, which with not exactly, varying results. I'm not exactly comfortable with Beatty there, but if he hits the way that he did it in the second half of last year, you can live with that, and maybe he'll play some left field, which he has very limited experience doing. But again, if the bat plays, you find a way to put Brett Beatty in there, and you can hide him in left field from time to time. John Heyman also says Mets see Brett Beatty playing multiple positions, including third base. It's $42 million non-deferred. It's a big number. The Mets saw that Bichette opportunity this way. A rare to get a premium player on a short-term deal. Don't forget Bo Bichette, I believe, is only 27 years old. So the Mets are still getting a guy that is very young, considering he's hitting free agency at this point. Right-handed bat. We know that the Mets were seeking a little bit of right-handed bat, a little more balance in their lineup. So they get that out of Bo Bichette coming along. I know a lot of you guys have said that in the past as well. And then 3, elite clubhouse presence and competitor, exactly the type of guy they want on the team, which doesn't sound like that's who Kyle Tucker was. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to sit here and tell you Bo Bichette is better than Kyle Tucker, but Bo Bichette is a very, very good player, a guy that is coming off a run to the World Series that they very nearly won. He was a huge reason why they were even in that position to begin with and performed at a very high level on the biggest of stages, and now we'll be bringing his bat to Queens. So hold on, let me get to the rest of this chat here. Andrew Ferracchio says this makes no sense at all, and we know it's going to be a 1-year deal, so whatever trade better be someone more than 1 year. That is where I'm a little concerned. And so before I get into Bo Bichette's stats, let's go back to John Heyman, because I believe he's the one that has a beat on the opt-outs for this deal. So he gets a full no-trade clause reported by John Heyman here, and then Bichette gets 2 opt-outs. The deal is pending physical. So that is a little bit concerning. Bichette gets 2 opt-outs, meaning he's going to get one after 2026. And then he obviously gets one after year 2 if he does opt in for 2027. We'll see what happens if there's even a baseball season at that point. Again, the Dodgers doing their best to ruin the league. That's a little concerning, obviously. Look, it's nice to get Bichette here, and we'll have him for 2026, and that's the only guarantee that we have. I would have preferred if there was an opt-out after the second year. Probably would have not been attractive to Bo Bichette. I think the Mets only land him with having these 2 opt-outs. But essentially, this is a 1-year deal, guys. It's an average annual value of about $42 million. No mathematician, but I think that checks out. So look, this is what we got for 26. We'll see what happens. The bad news is if he performs really well after this year, he in all likelihood does opt out. If he performs really poorly, then the Mets are paying him $42 million for next year. So there's a little bit of risk with this deal, no doubt about it, as far as the future outlook for the Mets. Jimmy James C, I like that they did. Where are you? Hold on. It just went up on me. Jimmy James C, I like that they have did something and got a legit bat, but I have no idea how this infield plays out. It's pretty crowded. It is. And it could mean, hey, we've been talking about a trade of Mark Vientos or maybe of Luis Angel Acuna for a long time now. Maybe the Mets have something cooking on the pitching side, and maybe Mark Vientos or Acuna are part of a larger package to get a guy like Freddie Peralta. I don't know. Obviously, there's going to be more prospect-heavy capital going back in a potential deal like that, but the Mets do have a lot of infielders now. We do know, as I've said here, Brett Beatty is going to roam around the field, maybe play some second, some third, maybe even some left field. So that's one way to navigate it. But there is definitely a lot of infielders on this team, but you don't allow that to prevent you from signing a bat like Bo Bichette. And we'll get into his stats here in just a few moments. Red Horse Adventure says, every Met signing a non-Boras client. I believe they're avoiding Boras after the Diaz fiasco. Bichette is with Vayner Sports. Good point. Yeah, the Mets haven't brought in any Boras clients. Obviously, Pete Alonso left. Cody Bellinger is out there, but I would guess this might keep them out of the Cody Bellinger sweepstakes, which I already believe they were out on after their pursuit of Kyle Tucker anyway. But yeah, they have not really touched any Boras clients whatsoever. Juan B, this was clearly a block the Phillies move. Love it. Philly fans are punching air right now. And look, the Phillies are still a better team than the Mets are right now, but the Phillies were so in on Bo Bichette. It sounded like they were going to get him, like it was a done deal. They were the only team rumored to still be interested in him. Ken Rosenthal reporting all week how he believed that they were the favorites to land Bo Bichette. And I quote tweeted a Phillies account yesterday who were hoping the Mets signed Kyle Tucker because then the Blue Jays did not get him. They were hoping the Mets did not sign Kyle Tucker because they were hoping that the Blue Jays would not be able to pivot to go and get a reunion with Bo Bichette. And instead, the Mets just come out of nowhere and steal Bo Bichette after losing out on Kyle Tucker, and the Phillies come away with nothing. Again, the Phillies are still a better team than the Mets right now, and the Dodgers are far and away superior to everyone in baseball. But this is a good move for the Mets. Number one, it gets them a little bit closer to contention in the National League. And number two, it prevented the Phillies from getting any better had they landed Bichette. So new third baseman in Queens, guys. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate you guys doing that. You've been awesome. Andrew Farracchio, really wish it was long term. I do too. It'd be nice to have a little bit more of a guaranteed term with Bo Bichette. But essentially, this is a 1-year deal. We cannot count or guarantee anything else after that. It has got opt-outs after this year and an opt-out after 2027 should he go that far with the Mets. But for right now, this year, it makes the Mets a better team. So I am pleased with that, and we will just see how things go from there. Let's see. Niners Command, what is up, bro? What's good, bro? I think I made a comment we should sign Bo Bichette. Love this. A lot of you guys said it, and I'm sorry. I just did not think the Mets were even in on Bo Bichette's market. It did not seem realistic whatsoever, but here we are. The Mets, again, just came out of nowhere to make this happen. Here's a tweet from John Heyman. So Bichette, just 27 years old, can be a free agent again at 28, 29, or 30 with a $5 million buyout on opt-out. He can make $47 million this year. So there are all the details about the signing. This is just super shocking. I did not expect this one at all, you guys. Again, woke up this morning and I said I felt like hungover after the Kyle Tucker situation yesterday. I did probably 3 hours of live streams, 2 before we knew where he was signing. And then after getting that bad news, about another hour after we found out he was signing with the Dodgers. And now to get this news, I am really taken aback by this. All right, let me try to catch up on the chats here, guys. Sorry, I'm doing my best here. Let's see. Hey, thank you so much for the super chat, B. Lee. I appreciate you. As a Jays fan, get ready to hate him at third base. He'll actively lose your games because of his inept defense. Jays got away with it because of gold gloves everywhere else on the infield and center field. Yeah, look, we know Bo Bichette is not the most sound defender. You got to hope that third base, not needing as much range as a shortstop does, that this will play out okay. The Mets still do have the luxury of him DHing. I'm sure he doesn't love that idea, basically because he's going to be auditioning for another free agent contract either at the end of this year or 2 or even 3 years from now when this deal is done, whenever he does decide to opt out, if he does. But hopefully the Mets will benefit from his stick in the lineup and that they can hide his defense well enough either at third base or have him DH every now and again. I'm not totally sure, but I love the bat. B. Lee, thank you so much once again for the $10 super chat. Really appreciate that. A Blue Jay fan, man. Hey, you guys are still a really good team, and I am sorry because this has been a really bad 12 hours for the Blue Jays. Losing out on Kyle Tucker and now seeing Bo Bichette leave the team, but they've still had a really good offseason. I still think that they are equal, if not above the pack in the American League East to repeat as division champions out there. So good luck to you guys. No hard feelings whatsoever toward them. Let's see. We got a couple more in here that I want to get to. Who else am I missing here? Jimmy James C. Maybe trade Vientos or Beatty for a pitcher. I don't think Beatty's going anywhere. I do think that Vientos could be on the trade block, no doubt about it. Let's see if the Mets do have their hands in a potential trade for someone, say, like Freddie Peralta. Let's see. King S1 Natra, we are only getting started. I mean, there's not a whole lot of deals to be made out there left. Let's be honest about it. Framber Valdez is still out there. The Mets could still make a trade for a starting pitcher, but I don't know. Let's see what happens next. But this is definitely a trend in the right direction for the Mets on what has otherwise been a horrible, ugly, really brutal offseason for the orange and blue. Frankie Diaz, Joe Ryan, and Buxton trade incoming? I don't think so. That'd be nice. I don't think that they want to, 1, trade either of those guys. 2, I think it's going to be too expensive of a deal for the Mets or for any team in that regard to trade for those 2 names. And I like Byron Buxton, but I don't know. Does he play well in New York as he has in Minnesota? Very different markets. He has made it known he loves Minnesota. He wants to spend his whole career there. And in the case of Joe Ryan, I like him. He's not an ace. He is closer to a mid number 2 than I think he is to a number 1. And look, 2 years of control. Who even knows if there's a baseball season next year? I prefer to go after Freddie Peralta, but look, we'll see what happens. Let's see. Who else do we got here? Waiting for the Hook says, Mets aren't trading Beatty. They love him. Vientos is leaving. I would agree with that. I think Vientos is much more likely to be dealt. Joseph Estevez, I told you we were going to get Bo. You nailed it, Joe. You said it last night, and I apologize. I never said you were wrong or anyone that it was a bad idea. I just didn't think it was a realistic possibility just with the Mets not being linked to him whatsoever, and here we are talking about it. So crazy. Andrew Faracchio says, so a 1-year deal, now we're probably trading for another rental, still not pushing the needle. Look, at this point, I don't want the Mets to do anything drastic or crazy because I said it last night. There is just no competing with the Dodgers. And while Bo Bichette is a nice move and it does make the Mets a better team, by how much, I'm not sure. Enough to compete with the Dodgers? Still, no. There's absolutely no way. Not with the rotation as it is currently comprised, and this lineup still in need of a few little tinkers and additions, in my opinion. So I'm happy that they're improving, but I also don't want them to do anything so drastic and crazy that it affects them long-term in the future when I don't think they're only a piece or 2 away from competing for a National League pennant. The Dodgers have just blown so far past the rest of the pack in the NL that I understand that maybe the Mets are not going to make the huge big swing and they are going to be more in these short-term kind of rental moves. And I'm not even against it at this point because I still don't love our odds against the team out on the West Coast. Gabe Percent, what is up, Gabe? Good to see you, my man. Appreciate you tuning in. Cowboy Boy says, hi, or Tony wanted a quiet Friday. Yeah, I did. I said that yesterday. I was like, at least this happened right now and not tonight at like 5:36 when I would like to enjoy my Friday night and go and do something other than talk about the Mets and baseball. As much as I love it and much as I love being here with you guys, I need a little bit of a break from this week. Let's see. Jorge Hernandez says, hey, that's Congrats, great move. Might end up being the new normal via contract-wise. We'll see, man. These high AAV deals, you got it done with Tucker yesterday and the Dodgers, and now today, the Mets swooping in and doing the same with Bo Bichette. Both guys came into this offseason kind of expecting to get like a decade-long deal maybe. You know, that was always pretty crazy, but maybe even 8 or 9 years, something around that area. So this is maybe a new trend. Enrique Garcia says, RM1042, where's he going to play? Third base is where the Mets have said that they plan to play him. That Bo Bichette is going to play third. Brett Beatty will get some time there. He may get some time at left field. And of course, we know Brett Beatty also played at second base quite a bit last year as well. Look, this, in my opinion, goes everything against what David Stearns has said since the offseason began about run prevention, wanting to improve defensively. I think he did also mean pitching, which he hasn't addressed whatsoever, at least not in the rotation, and to a degree has probably got him weaker in the bullpen with losing Edwin Diaz. But from the defensive standpoint, Bo Bichette, we know, is not a good defender. We know was not a good shortstop. The hope is that moving him to third base, again, where he doesn't need as much range, doesn't have to come in on balls as much as you would from a middle infield position, that it might benefit him. But till proven otherwise. And as far as Brett Beatty, third base clearly his position by trade, where he is best and a natural third baseman. Moving him now to second base, where we saw some glimpses of it last year. I didn't love it. I know he had a couple of highlight plays. He also had a lot of really bad, ugly plays. And then potentially also having him play some left field goes against the grain of everything that David Stearns said this offseason about improving run prevention and defensively. So this is, I'm not going to lie, a little head scratching, and that is why I'm so caught off guard. That's why, as I said to you, Joseph Estevez and other people who have suggested Bo Bichette over the last week or two, that it just didn't seem like a fit for this Mets roster. But the Mets pulled the trigger, and Bo Bichette is on the Mets. Good day to improve their lineup at the very least. Let's see. Who do we got? Joe Saturn says, include Beatty in a package for Duran. Ooh, I don't know. I think they like Beatty more than they like Vientos at this point. So I don't think that's going to be the case, but I could be intrigued by that, no doubt. Problem is, you might see Bo Bichette walk after this year, or you might see Bo Bichette be a awful third baseman, and then what, you know? So I'm not so sure they're in a rush to necessarily trade Brett Beatty at this point. Stigger, I don't think the Jays wanted Bo. Us fans did. Management didn't. Stigger, I didn't realize you're a Blue Jays fan. My condolences, man. It has been a tough 12 hours for you guys. It seemed like you guys were the leader in the clubhouse for Kyle Tucker. He spurns not only us, but you guys as well to go to LA, and now Bo Bichette leaving the Blue Jays as well. But guys, you still got a good team. You were just barely on the cusp of winning that World Series last year. You've had a good offseason. So condolences still. I know this is a tough 12 hours for Blue Jays fans, but I still think they have a good team, and I am rooting for you. I have no bad blood against the Blue Jays whatsoever. Go beat that Yankee ass. Jorge Hernandez says, great move, especially what Tucker did. Screw Kyle Tucker, a little biatch. Okay, I shouldn't have said that. RM1042, his father never signed autographs for Mets fans back in the 90s. Dante Bichette, he always was coming as a visiting player, right? I think he spent the majority of his career with the Rockies. I don't remember where else he played, but I could tell you that about a lot of Mets that didn't sign autographs for fans when I was a kid growing up. So some players just don't like doing that. Guys, give me a sec. Let me get this Maxwell House in my body. Ember mugs, they should be sponsoring me at this point. Keep your coffee or tea at the exact temperature. A great gift from a great person in my life. So thank you for that. But you guys should get one of these, no doubt. They're sweet. Let's see. Mama Lighten Shyamalan. My God, I can't ever say it. I can't even say the real M. Night Shyamalan's name. Only Dodgers could offer Juan Soto, say, to Kyle Tucker. I'm not sure I know what you mean by that, but yes, Kyle Tucker's getting the highest AAV of any player in baseball, now by a significant margin, $9 million more than what Juan Soto's getting, although we all know Shohei Ohtani should be the highest, but of course the Dodgers bending the rules for that. Let's see. Thank you again, B. Lee, for the super chat. Really appreciate that from you. And again, good luck to your Blue Jays. I hope you guys have a great year and beat the Yankees for the AL East. Our Rye guy says, what does that $5 million opt-out thing even mean? Like, we pay him more when he opts out. So let's go back. Well, real quick, though, I want to read this Bob Nightingale tweet that he just put out. The Phillies had agreed to Bo Bichette's request for 7 years, $200 million last night, and believed they would sign him until the Mets swooped in with their 3-year, $126 million offer after losing out in the Kyle Tucker sweepstakes. Wow. That is nuts. The Mets went in and stole Bo Bichette out from under the Phillies. So he could have got 7 years, $200 million from Philadelphia. Instead, the Mets give him 3 years, $126 million with these opt-outs. So it's an average annual value of $42 million. What's that? 200 divided by 7. Can someone do the quick math for me? I guess that comes out to like, I don't know, 5 years by 200 million would have been 40 million a year. Is that correct? And so 2 extra years added on to that. I'm so bad at math. Someone do the AAV for me on that. 7 years, 200 million that he would have made with the Phillies. But the Mets swoop in and steal him, and Philly fans must be punching air in anger right now. That is nuts. B. Lee, I actually wanted the Jays to let Bo walk. It does sound like some Jay fans did feel that way. So, hey, we are excited because he's new to us. We'll find out how good of a player Bo Bichette really is, and we're going to go through the numbers. I'm trying to get through these chats. I want to make sure everyone gets their pop. Red Horse Adventure, Suarez for 18, or for first base, home runs. I don't think Suarez is coming. We are already defensively challenged still, in my opinion, but I said the same thing about Bo Bichette, and now look at us. So maybe Suarez is next. I think they got their right-handed stick that Suarez would have provided in the form here of Bo Bichette. So I still think Suarez is not very likely, but again, maybe don't take my word, because every time I think the Mets are going to zig this offseason, they zag, or however the expression goes. And I have missed the mark on a lot of these things. It's been a puzzling, confusing winter for the New York Mets. So don't be surprised by anything that comes next. Red Horse Adventure is also saying Bader for center field. I wouldn't hate it, man. I would not hate a what do you call it? A reunion with Harrison Bader. I think he's seeking big time money, though, after the year that he just had between Minnesota and Philadelphia. And I would not be surprised now if the Phillies do pivot and re-sign Harrison Bader. But it sounds like he is probably asking for outrageous money. And even the Phillies, who are the incumbent after trading for him at the deadline last year and really benefited from picking him up there out of Minnesota, don't want to go to whatever that Harrison Bader is asking for this offseason. But I love the idea of bringing Harrison Bader back, no doubt about it. If nothing else, to prevent him from going back to the Phillies, where he absolutely tortured us in the second half of 2025. M. Night Shyamalan, Beatty hit over 300 with a 550 slug in the second half last year. He ain't going anywhere. I agree. I don't think he's going anywhere. James McCorn, Tony, whoa, dude. It's got to be a trade on the horizon, right? Vientos has to be gone at the least. I would think so. We haven't heard anything, but we know that just after the the announcement that Tucker was going to the Dodgers, that the Mets have checked in on Freddie Peralta with the Brewers. We know that the Yankees have also checked in, and I'm sure there's other teams we haven't heard about. So wonder if Vientos might be a part of a package there. He doesn't really strike me as a Brewer type player where they are pretty defensively sound, very athletic, but if they're looking for that plug and play offense, he could potentially still be that kind of guy that they could put at first or put at designated hitter. So again, it would be a prospect capital heavy type of trade, but the Vientos being a part of that as well, and maybe a starting pitcher to replace Peralta in the immediacy for them could be something that's on the horizon here. Let's see. Red Horse Adventures, hate to be in anyone's cornflake, but after seeing those the AAV climbing, it makes me wonder if Soto will actually opt out in 5 years. Well, the Mets can block that because all they have to do is pay him an additional $4 or $5 million, I think it is, and then it automatically continues the contract. So the Mets can prevent Soto from opting out if they so choose to. So to be honest, the Mets have full control over Juan Soto. So we'll see what happens. That's a couple years still down the line. Mushy pasta, Dodgers suck. I couldn't agree more with you. Jorge Hernandez, hey, anything's possible. No one expected to sign Bo. Anything can happen, no doubt about it. Where do you put Bo in the infield? Well, we already know the Mets are planning to put Bo Bichette at third base. So this is crazy. But no, this is awesome news. Philly fans, again, are really got to be in terrible mood right now, knowing that the Mets stole him out from under the Phillies. 7-year, $200 million offer from the Phillies. They had agreed to it. That is what Bo Bichette had asked for. And the Mets swoop in with a 3-year, $126 million deal. Did anybody? $27.5 million for 7 years is what the AAV would have been to. Thank you, B. Lee, for that. But the Mets come in, give him $42 million. They give him the ability to opt out after 26, after 2027, if there's even a baseball season, and go retest the market at age 28. 29, and at worst, if he plays out all 3 years of this deal, can do it again at age 30. So obviously the Mets are giving Bo Bichette a better deal than what the Phillies were. And the good news is the Phillies don't get better, and the Mets definitely do get better. Again, I say the Mets are not a better team than the Phillies right now. The Mets are not even in the universe of the Dodgers coming on the heels of the Tucker news. But the Mets do get better here today. And now we will see what happens next if there are some more moves on the horizon that could get them a little bit closer to being considered an actual contender in the National League. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Hit that subscribe button. Trying to get to that goal of 6K subscribers by opening day. Thank you so much. We're going to be down in Port St. Lucie doing coverage of the Mets this spring training. So if you're going to be out there, let me know. I'd love to meet up with you guys and chat it up. Leave this video a like. Really appreciate that as well. Goes a long way toward helping out the channel. So thank you once again, guys. Let me see. Storm Villains. Why get Simeon to get Bo? Well, the Simeon deal came up way before this, obviously, and that was more so clearing out Brandon Nimmo's final 2 years of his contract and taking on Simeon. We also know Simeon, Gold Glove second baseman. Bo Bichette's going to play third base, so it still works. We're looking at an infield right now, essentially, of Bo Bichette at third, Lindor at short, Simeon at second, and it sounds like Jorge Polanco at first base. Those things can change, but that's how the infield looks right now. And defensively, it could be better, but I am not ready to say that necessarily at this point. We've never really seen Bo Bichette at third base. We know he wasn't a great defensive shortstop. Simeon, yes, Gold Glover, 35 years old. Let's see how much longer that holds up. Hopefully it does. And we've never seen Jorge Polanco play first base, period. So I don't know. I can't sit here and declaratively say the Mets have a better infield defense right now than they did last year. So it's definitely a little confusing. There's no doubt about it. Superhero Sandwiches Mets got a bunch of infielders, no doubt about it. I mean, it is crowded there. Kev Chow, after one day losing Tucker, signing Bo is clearly a Cohen hurt ego signing. Oh, you think? I mean, could be. At the very worst, though, this can't kill the Mets because it's a one-year deal. And if he performs well, he opts out. If he performs poorly, there's still only 2 years after this. It is a high AAV, but it's not something that's going to hamstring you for 6, 7, 8 years if it doesn't work out well with Bichette. So I think it's kind of a win-win for both sides, to be honest with you. Let's see. My guys, Mets. With Bichette, the Mets are up to 80 wins. Trade Beatty for a starting pitcher. Beatty clearly has the most trade value of any of the Mets infielders, the young Mets infielders like Acuna or Mauricio or Vientos. But I think he has more value to the Mets being in this lineup wherever he is going to end up playing than he does for the Mets trying to go and trade for a pitcher. I could change my tune depending on who we're talking about, if it is like a Freddie Peralta. But I think the Mets really do value Beatty's bat, and they are going to try to keep him and, instead of trading him out. Let's see who else we got. Stoney, what is up, man? Good to see you. Happy you're in here. Geez, yeah, it's about time. F Tucker, he says. I'm right there with you. Red Horse Adventures Bichette did have a qualifying offer. He did, absolutely. The Mets got one for losing Edwin Diaz, but they are going to obviously be giving up some draft picks for signing Bo Bichette here. But guys, here's the overall look from a 1,000-foot view of Bo Bichette. He is entering his age 28 season. He will turn 28 at the beginning of March, but a guy that has put up a near 300 batting average over his career, 294 for the career, 311 batting average this past season, drove in 94 runs, a 357 on base percentage, an 840 OPS. Really good numbers last year. A career season, I would say, but this is a guy that has basically been one of, if not the best pure bat to ball hitters in the American League over the last several years, has led the American League in hits in, I believe it was 2 of the last 4 years. And had he not got injured in 2024, in all likelihood would have done it again in 2024 as well. So a guy that is consistently been among, if not the hits leader in the American League. So I am pleased with it. I personally still care about batting average, but more importantly, the OPS, 840 this past season. The year before that, 814 when he was an All-Star in 2023, 828 in 21, another All-Star campaign, but a 5.9 WAR. That was clearly his best year. Most home runs by far, 29 bombs, 102 RBIs, 18 homers, and 94 ribbies this past year. And the Mets are hoping that they just got a guy that can hit 20 to 25 home runs, that can drive in 80 to 100 runs. And we're getting a lot closer to replacing the full production now of Pete Alonso and the rest of the people that have departed here this past offseason. Jimmy James kind of have to reach at this point for who do you think, Jimmy James? Let me know. Tony, do you see Beatty staying at third base or have been moved to another spot? So we already know Beatty is going to be roaming around the field, some second base, maybe some left field, and he will still get some time at third base according to reports from John Heyman, Jeff Passan. Maybe he is going to I'm sorry. What was the question here? I don't. Or will he be moved to another spot? I think he's going to stay here with the Mets. I don't think Beatty's going to be traded unless that's what puts them over the top in a potential trade for a frontline starting pitcher. Let's see. Andrew Faracchio. I'm trying to love this move, but feels like a panic move and a temporary Band-Aid. That's fair to say. Let's see what happens next. I'm so sick of saying that this entire winter, but let's see what the Mets do next. If they go out now and they get Freddie Peralta, if they go out and they're able to add another bat that we're not thinking about, all of a sudden this does start to look more like a contending team than just the addition of Bo Bichette. But I completely understand why you would feel like this does kind of seem like a panic move coming on the heels of the Kyle Tucker news that we got last night. I completely understand your position there, Andrew. Kev Chada, Amaya would have been a great signing, only cost money. We just don't know about Amaya, and it sounds like scouts around the league think at best he's going to be a number 3, but probably closer to a number 4 or even a number 5 in a rotation. And while I agree, it's just money, and I would have done it, I'm not going to beat the Mets up on it, as I already did that. Same with Murakami, same with Okamoto, who I thought would have been a good fit here. But I'll take Bo Bichette's proven bat in the big leagues over what they may get out of a guy like Murakami or out of a guy like Okamoto coming over from Japan. But I understand what you're feeling as well. Kev also says, Andrew, very true. Opposite of run prevention, making other player move positions. Like I said, guys, very against the grain of what David Stearns preached this entire offseason in terms of run prevention, adding a guy that's not a great defender, moving a guy that would off of what is his best defensive position, that being Brett Beatty at third base. It is a little puzzling. There's no doubt about it. Boyce right field says Alonso had an 871 OPS, 840 OPS. Bichette and Polanco is better than Alonso and Nimmo. It is pretty damn good. Like I said, Polanco outpaced Brandon Nimmo last year in OPS. We know that Pete had an 871 OPS last year, and that was the highest of his career since his rookie year in 2019. So what are we getting all crazy about here? It's close. It's close. And I'm on record saying I wish Pete was still here. In a perfect world, he would be with some other additions to this lineup, but that has passed. It is gone. We cannot change the past. So the Mets are getting closer, I think, though, to what the lineup looked like last year, and to be seen if this defense is in fact better or not. Jimmy James. I see what you're saying. I was responding that Stearns is reaching, kind of have no choice at this point. Exactly. If you want to compete this year, then you have to find a way to improve this roster. And so Bo Bichette may be considered a reach. I don't know. We'll see. I don't hate the contract. The only thing I would have liked to see if there was a longer commitment. The 2 opt-outs worries me a little bit, but again, at the very least, keeps the Phillies from getting better. Here's a tweet from Max, who's a big Phillies fan from Barstool. So happy for the Phillies to be running it back. It's going to work this time for sure. We'll definitely be a better team in 2026. Signing a 33-year-old Adolis Garcia, all while losing one of the best postseason pitchers of all time. Young lineup, though. I love it. Let's drink some Philly fan tears, They were all putting their hands together, thinking the Mets had a good chance of getting Tucker or didn't get Tucker, and then that maybe Bo Bichette would come to Philly, and instead the Mets just swoop in and steal him out from under Philadelphia. I love it. Look at this Phillies home run tracker prediction. In the next 48 hours, Bichette will be a Philadelphia Philly for 10-260. Ooh, that's so funny. Evaloto. I've also never played third. Pay me. I love it. Hey, I played third in, high school. Does that count for anything? Red Horse Adventures. I like the aggressive way the Mets did this. Straight to the point, not to be leveraged. I have a feeling this will become more the norm after the Tucker nonsense. Well, look, I would love to agree with you. Problem is, they had this situation happen with them with Trevor Bauer. They had it happen with them with Yoshi Yamamoto. Both cases going to the Dodgers. And they had it happen with them with Kyle Tucker last night. Again, the Los Angeles Dodgers. So as much as I would like to say that the Mets are going to start this new way of, hey, take it or leave it kind of deals, they clearly have not learned their lesson. Now, granted, those other previous ones with Bauer and with Yamamoto, well, Yamamoto was with Stearns, but with Bauer, came under a different general manager. That was, of course, I think Alan Porter at the time. But I can't sit here and say, yeah, the Mets are definitely going to start drawing a line in the sand and saying, hey, take it or leave it. You're not allowed to go shop this offer. But I do like how they kind of did this very stealth and didn't let anybody really know about it until, hey, it's out there. And Bo Bichette is a New York Met. So here's a proposed lineup from SMY Mets, potential lineup for them with the Bichette signing. So they have Lindor leading off, Soto hitting second, Bo Bichette hitting behind him, Jorge Polanco in the cleanup spot. Okay. Francisco Alvarez fifth, Brett Beatty at first base. So they actually have Polanco DHing in this mock lineup here. They got Marcus Semien hitting seventh at second. Carson Bench in left field. We'll see if he does in fact make the opening day roster, and Tyrone Taylor rounding things out in the 9-hole playing center field. This lineup is not one that's going to get you jumping up and down for joy. I'll be honest. Bichette is nice. I'm happy he's here. Polanco, I hope, can repeat what he did in 2025. But again, I'm not like looking at this lineup and salivating and rubbing my hands together and feeling like this is going to be one of the top 3 or 4 lineups in the NL. I think there are a lot of question marks. What is Alvarez? Is he going to be the second half coming up from AAA stint last year? Or is he going to be the guy that was miserable for the first 3.5 months of the season? Is Brett Beatty finally going to put it together for a full 162? What does Marcus Semien have left in his back coming off a really down year with the Rangers? Is Carson Bench even in the opening day lineup? And if so, does he have growing pains to start the year? Or does he come right out and just immediately hit the ground running as a rookie? I don't know. And of course, Tyrone Taylor, we know what he is at this point. He is a glove-first center fielder that you can live with if you have a lineup that is full of sure things. And I got to be honest, this lineup to me still is not full of that. So happy about this Bichette signing. It makes the Mets better. And as I have said here throughout the stream, how much better, I don't truly know. And now I do think the Mets need to address the pitching front, get a starting pitcher to put atop of this rotation. And I still even think they probably need another bat. Or some type of other big splash to improve this lineup. Stu Finer with his shirt off. All right, there we go. Let's see. Who have I missed here in the chat? Lightstream defense at third is a downgrade, but it had to be done. There'd been 0 ticket sales if they didn't do something here. And look, if this is a gimmick to appease the fan base, I'm not happy about that. I really hope that's not the case. I have to just try to convince myself and believe that they think that Bo Bichette's going to be a part of other moves here to round out the offseason that will put them back in contention in the National League. He is a guy that they said has a good clubhouse presence. He is a guy that has performed in the postseason. But if this is simply a move to try to improve them as far as their what's the word I'm looking for? And try to improve their standing with the fans and, lower the temperature of this fan base. That is something that would really upset me. I'm looking for his postseason numbers here. I know he obviously was in the postseason this past season, but I don't recall what he did last in his other previous ones. So career 311 average in the postseason, right in line with what he has done pretty much his entire career. He has been been in the postseason 4 separate occasions, 2020, 2022, in 2023, and in 2025, of course, going all the way to the World Series. Let's see. Did not participate in the division series or in the championship series because of injury, so he only appeared in those 7 games against the Dodgers, but obviously was terrific. But a career .311 average in the postseason, has 1 home run. That one, of course, coming in Game 7. It looked like it was going to be one that put Toronto over the top, a 3-run bomb in that one. But you got to love it. A career .785 OPS in the postseason. It is a small sample size, but a guy that has been on the big stage and performed really well for them last year. Had some clutch RBI hits last year in games 3, 4, and 5 as well. Those all coming on the road in Los Angeles. So I am a little pleased with that. We are going to also go to Bo Bichette's Statcast and take a look at some of his defensive numbers. Obviously, he's going to be the third baseman for this team, but let's just take a look at it. Here are his offensive numbers, at least his profile on Statcast for 2025. Expecting batting average, 98th percentile. We know, been a consistent leader of the American League in terms of hits and batting average. Healthy on base percentage in the 350 range. So that all checks out there. But as far as his fielding, that is concerning, obviously. First percentile, though 1 percentile in terms of outs above average at a -13. Arm strength, 82.3. That is in the 36th percentile. So look, we're not getting an all-around complete player like I thought they got with Kyle Tucker, even though his defense has been falling off a little bit. But Bichette is not a good defensive player. We know that. And I'm curious how his arm strength is actually going to play now from an even further part of the diamond at third base. Again, in the 36th percentile. Does it get better at third base just simply because he doesn't need as much range? I don't know. But we cannot convince ourselves that this is the defensive first move. We know it's not. We know this improves the Mets lineup as far as a stick in it, but it does not necessarily do a whole lot for you defensively. So that is obviously something to be concerned about. But let's see who else we got. Chuck Jones. Mets definitely going to win 84 games now. Get Bellinger, and 88 is possible. I still don't think Bellinger's happening, but hey, I said I didn't think Bo Bichette was happening, so it could. But I think they need to address the rotation as well. Let's see. Who else do we got here? Kev Chana, honestly, with so many pieces, new pieces, do you honestly think Mendoza's smart enough to maneuver right? I still think Mendy is a pretty good manager. We will see. I have still said he is on the hot seat to begin this year for me. If they get off to a poor start through May, I am really seriously taking a look at his job security. No doubt about it. But I do think Mendy is a good manager and was dealt a pretty crap hand this past year with all the injuries and all the craziness that went on with this team. But I am not absolving him of any blame, and he is on the hot seat to begin the year. 1 second, guys. B. Lee, Bo's problem wasn't arm talent. It's his inaccurate arm, overthrowing, bouncing balls. Would have had more runs given up had it not been for Vladdy at first. Most of his overthrows came from the third base side. All right, so that's some insight from a Blue Jays fan. Bo's arm accuracy was an issue. His throws were an issue from shortstop. And I just have to hope that not needing to necessarily come in and range to his left and right as much as he does at shortstop might benefit him throwing. But we also know the Mets just lost the best scooping first baseman in baseball. For all of his defensive shortcomings, Pete Alonso was the best scooping first baseman. And now we are putting Jorge Polanco there, or at least that is what it sounds like is the plan. So that is definitely something to be aware of and to be a little bit concerned about. Thank you for bringing that up, B. Lee. I was not aware of that. Let's see. Henry Campos, Kevin, agree with you. Mendoza's terrible setting lineups. We're always going to have problems with the manager. It doesn't matter who it is. It's all this calculus, right? Henry Campos need Bellinger in center field and Benj in left field. Wow. I think the Mets are really going to focus more on the pitching side of things now more than anything. I could be wrong, but Bellinger added to this group now would definitely make me feel better. I'd probably actually put Bellinger at first base at this point. Unless you're going to fully give the reins to Brett Beatty at first base, I would probably, if the Mets sign Bellinger, want him to spend the majority of his time at first base. At least is a first baseman by trade that has shown talent at that position defensively with Bo over there at Lindor at shortstop having some throwing woes of his own. I would probably prefer to go that route, to be honest with you. Let's see. Boyce says, by Stearns being, quote, aggressive, do you mean paying Tucker more per year than Juan Soto? I don't think that was meant for me, but maybe another person in the chat here. Kevchada Bells should have always been priority over Tucker, and we'll see if the Mets can get back in on his market. I still feel like that's not going to happen, but again, didn't think Bo Bichette was going to happen, and look at us. Lightstream, are you sure Beatty won't be traded for Peralta or Duran? I'm not sure of anything this offseason, guys. What a weird winter it's been for the Mets. I didn't think Pete would be gone. I didn't think Diaz would be gone. And that has been the case. So I can't be sure that Beatty won't be traded for one of those guys. If that's what puts them over the top to get one of those names, I think it's definitely a possibility. I don't know what Beatty is in terms of trade value to other teams. I think the Red Sox could use a infielder right now. I don't know if he appeals to Milwaukee. I would think he does, more so than a guy like Vientos. So I can't definitively say that Beatty is not going to be dangled out there in a potential trade for a guy like Duran or a guy like who else did you mention here? Freddie Peralta for a starting pitcher upgrade. But we will see what happens, and we're going to keep it here tuned for a little bit longer and see if anything else comes just totally out of nowhere. But this is interesting. I did not think Bichette was going to be a realistic opportunity. There's Bichette with his 3-run homer off of Shohei Ohtani in Game 7 of the World Series. Unfortunately, they couldn't beat the Dodgers, of course, as we know. Let's see. Kevchada, can Semien be traded to Boston for Duran even before playing a game? Yeah, he can be. That's not going to happen. The Mets like Marcus Semien. They liked that it got them out from under the last 2 years of Brandon Nimmo's contract, and they like the defense that he brings to the right side of the infield. And the Mets are hoping that Semien's going to improve the infield defense. Again, he was a Gold Glover last year, and they're hoping his bat will bounce back. We also know that his numbers were totally nerfed at Globe Life Park there in Texas, and they believe that he is going to bounce back at the plate at Citi Field, playing his home games there. So they're not going to trade Marcus Semien. That's just not happening. I wouldn't be opposed to that happening for a guy like Duran, but Boston also has zero interest in acquiring the contract that is still on the books for Marcus Semien. So I don't think that's going to happen, Lightstream. Kevchada says, or I'm sorry, that was Kevchada. Boyce, just not Vientos at first. He's the footwork of a 3-legged hippo. Vientos is not going to be the first baseman. I don't think he's even going to be on this team. I do suspect that if anyone's getting traded, it is going to be Mark Vientos. Kevchada, don't minimize manager mishandling the lineup. Going 0-70 in late inning comebacks is a historically bad Mendoza feat. Look, part of it, Mendy, no doubt, but those players not ever coming up with a clutch hit, and big names, Nimmo, Pete, Soto even, Francisco Lindor. I mean, at the end of the day, those dudes are at the plate. Those dudes are the ones that just simply didn't get the job done. And don't get me wrong, there were a lot of situations that they messed up on. There was that one against the Nats where they didn't have Alvarez simply bunt and move runners over to second and third with less than 2 outs. And he hit into a double play and killed that inning. The Mets ended up losing the game. So I will give you that. There was probably more moments like that one that I can't recall at the moment, but I will always harp on the players not being the ones to get the job done when they are the ones on the mound, they are the ones in the field, they are the ones in the batter's box that simply didn't execute. So it's both ways, but I do understand Mendoza definitely didn't have a great season last year. We're going to go for a couple more minutes here, guys. I was hoping maybe there's another move coming out of this, but good news, the Mets get Bo Bichette. Good news, the Mets block the Phillies from getting Bo Bichette. And we will see where the Mets pivot now from this point forward. It's going to be really interesting to see if they can pull off a trade for a guy like Freddie Peralta, if they do end up going out now and signing Framber Valdez, and if there is maybe another trade on the horizon. But again, this news really just coming completely out of left field, pun intended, on this one. Jimmy James C., thank you so much for the $4.99 super chat. I appreciate you, Jimmy. A loyal viewer. You've been awesome, man. Thank you so much for that. He says, thanks for the coverage, Tony. Let's hope for more big moves before opening day. There definitely still need to be some moves. I like this graphic. It's a nice little three-headed monster. I don't know if it's one that competes with the Dodgers. Actually, I do know it does not compete with the Dodgers. But maybe with some more additions sprinkled in throughout this roster, it can give them a puncher's chance in the National League, in the National League East, to make a playoff spot. Let's hope that is the case. Kevchad, objectively, I don't see Mendoza lasting the entire season like the Jets with Aaron Glenn. Oh, I can't even talk about the Jets. Why do you got to bring up Aaron Glenn right now? Come on, man. Give him my vibe. Greg D says $42 million per year for an infielder who can't even field his own position, then move him to a new position. Makes sense. Perfect Mets move. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. We will see. Nice bat. We'll see if it pans out. But Andrew Faracchio says, I really wish we knew what exactly was Stearns' plan when the offseason started, because it now seems like he had no real plan. It seems like the market moved by him. I'm not going to lie. I am not going to not place any blame on Stearns for where we are. Like I said, guys, I woke up this morning feeling hopeless for this Mets team. Hopeless for the entire National League after the Dodgers did what they did, signing Kyle Tucker. But specifically, of course, with the Mets, like there is just no way they can compete in the National League, especially with what LA has done. This still does not put them over the top by any means, but they definitely get better. I do think Stearns really messed up on the Edwin Diaz negotiations. I think that they were trying to be opportunistic with Kyle Tucker's market coming back to him, and the snake that he is took that deal and went right to LA with it, and they just upped it a little bit. A place where he doesn't have to be an alpha man, because he's not. He's a soy boy, and doesn't have to be the center of attention out in Los Angeles, where the media doesn't care if you perform and the fans don't care because they're hitting beach balls in the stands. So I am definitely disappointed in how the offseason has gone for the Mets, but there is still a little bit of time. There are still some moves out there to be made. And let's see if they can at least just make themselves into a playoff contender in the National League. Michael Apostolides says, what do you think of the tentative batting order? Would you move Soto to clean up, Lindor not lead off? I think that roster that we just saw, that proposed lineup from SMY Mets that we just broke down, is probably pretty close, at least right now, to with the roster that they have right now, to what we'll probably see. I think Lindor should remain in the leadoff spot, at least for the time being. Who else should be leadoff? I don't know anybody else in this group right here that is a better leadoff hitter than Lindor. Soto seems to have a comfort hitting second, so I would imagine that Soto is... Oh, guys, sorry, I thought you were able to see this. My bad. Let me zoom in and push it over a little bit. There we go. Soto seems to have a comfort hitting second, and you need to have somebody protecting Soto. So hitting him cleanup really doesn't make sense. If anything, Soto getting on at a 400-plus clip would make sense as a leadoff hitter. I don't necessarily want to do that, but it makes a lot of sense considering how much he gets on base and could set the table for Bichette and for Lindor and for the other guys to a lesser extent. But I think this is probably about as close as you are looking at the Mets' potential lineup with the addition of Bo Bichette right here. And again, this is not one that I think strikes the fear of God into opposing teams and opposing pitchers. It is okay. I think they still need to make additions, and I still think you want to focus on that 4 through 7 spots in this order. Polanco, Alvarez, Beatty, Semien. Who is Marcus Semien at this point? Does he bounce back in a more neutral site, a more neutral ballpark than what he was playing his home games with the Rangers in Texas? Brett Beatty, did he finally put it all together, and can he do it over a full season now after we saw some of that in the second half? Is Francisco Alvarez going to stay healthy? Is he going to look like the version of himself that came back after his AAA stint in Syracuse? Or is he going to look like the guy for the first 3.5 months of 2025 that was just absolutely mind-numbing to have to watch? And Jorge Polanco, is he going to be a 25 to 26 home run bat again like he was with Seattle last year? I don't know. So that 4 through 7 right there is something that has a lot of question marks, if you ask me, and it is going to make or break this lineup. And that is why I still want another addition, a more sure thing. And that's without even talking about Carson Bench, who's in this mock lineup here, who may not even be on the opening day roster. But how does he perform in his rookie season? Does he hit the ground running, or does he have the growing pains that most rookies typically do? And Tyrone Taylor, who we know is a glove first outfielder, not necessarily a threat offensively. So it is better than what it was yesterday, but how much better? I'm still not convinced on that. Let's see. We got Greg D. You already got to you. Yeah, Boyce, of course. Thank you, man. I appreciate you tuning in. We try to make sure everybody gets a pop here. If I didn't have you guys commenting, I would just be repeating myself over and over. And I'm probably already doing that, but you guys have no idea how much it helps that I can react and interact with your guys' comments. So thank you for leaving comments and participating. It helps the stream continue to go and keep it interesting, hopefully. So thank you for that, boys. Livestream, maybe Beatty can play outfield. We saw Brett Beatty play a little bit of outfield in the past. So let's actually just go look at his numbers. He played left field a little bit in 2023, and so I don't really recall how he performed out there. My guess would be that it's nothing tremendous, but let's see if we can find it. I wish there was finders and advanced stats. Maybe that's where we want to look. Guys, leave this video a like, hit that sub button if you're not already subscribed for daily Mets content. Keep you up to date on all things Mets this entire winter and offseason, as well as the rest of Major League Baseball. And leave this video a like. Really helps the channel out a lot. Share this with a baseball fan in your life. Hit that share button. Go send it to a friend on Facebook or Twitter, or send it to them in a text if they're a Mets fan or just a baseball fan. We want to get to that goal of 6K subscribers by opening day and have some really fun content planned for you guys for spring training. I'll be down in Port St. Lucie doing a lot of coverage of the Mets in their spring training. So really excited for all of that and really happy to have you guys all here with me for the ride. We're trying to find Brett Beatty's defensive statistics. I know he played a little bit of left field back in, I think it would have been 2023. So let's just click on that, see if we can find it. There's got to be a better way to do this. I swear. Yeah, left field. Here we go. Hold on. It's somewhere here. Third base. Oh my God, we were so close. I just saw it. Where is it? Left field. Here we go. He has, what is that? 2023. It looks like 1 inning of left field. Is that it? Is that really it? Because that's a little concerning. Look, guys, I've said it already. Look, they can convince themselves that, what's his name? Jorge Polanco is going to be a good first baseman, and he might be. I mean, he's moving from second base. There's no reason why he couldn't be a good first baseman. They are different positions, fielding the ball, digging balls out, leaping for balls, all that stuff. Very different from being a second baseman, but you would think his athleticism could translate there well. But at this point, if Brett Beatty is going to continue to hit the way he did in the second half, still need to see that before I'm ready to say it, I would just put Brett Beatty at first base, make Polanco your most of the time designated hitter, and try to add another guy to this lineup. But the Mets seem steadfast in putting Polanco at first. So we just got news. Andrew Faracchio telling me JT Realmuto goes back to the Phillies. All right, so the Phillies are running it back. Look, their window is just about shut. So whatever, that doesn't concern me. I know some people proposed the idea of bringing Realmuto to the Mets. I never thought that was realistic. Yeah, whatever. Good for the Phillies. They are still not happy that we just stole Bichette from them, but they can have Realmuto back. He is in the twilight of his career. I still think he might have a little bit of good years left, not too many, but that's not something that terribly scares me. But Realmuto back to the Phillies. Let's see. Kevchada. I don't see Vientos traded when Beatty. He's better value. We'll see. We'll see. You'd think after last offseason and trade deadline fiasco that Stearns would have been aggressive this offseason. That was Stearns' huge mistake. Yeah, you would have thought so. But I think he's trying to do his best now to kind of salvage what is left and get deals that are within reason for them. Kevchada, Stephen Kwan would fix the lineup, bring our leadoff hitter. We don't need to sign Bells. What a decent trade package for Kwan. I don't know, but I have heard that he's going to be expensive in terms of prospect capital. Stephen Kwan, there are a lot of teams that have been interested in him. Cleveland always does a really good job of getting returns on the guys that they're ready to sell off and still stay competitive. So not that I'm afraid of dealing with Cleveland necessarily, but I don't know. There's going to be a lot of people competing for Stephen Kwan's services when you could simply outright go sign a guy like Cody Bellinger. But yeah, I wouldn't hate the idea of bringing him in. I really can't even give you an idea of what kind of deal is it going to be required to get Stephen Kwan's services, to trade for him from Cleveland, to be just totally honest with you. Maybe that is a video I can do this week. How about that? I'll start working on something like that. Let's see. Christopher Weschler, not better. Beatty at first instead of third. LOL, awful move after losing Tucker. I wouldn't say it's an awful move. It is still a puzzling one, though. No doubt about it. I don't really know how the Mets are going to navigate all of this, but Bo Bichette's going to be the third baseman, it sounds like. They said Brett Beatty will still get time at third. Will Bichette DH? I don't know if he has a willingness to do so, considering he still wants to go test the market again, either after this year or the year after, or if he chooses to play out the entirety of these 3 years of this contract with the Mets at 30 years old, 3 years from now. And obviously, he doesn't want to be identified as a DH only stick. He wants to prove he can play one position because it obviously increases his value. So we shall see. But yeah, defensively, I'm not sure about this one. I'm with you there. Sal Capella, Tony, I know we were down yesterday, but this was a nice pick me up, but still a lot of work to do, like a trade for Scooble, baby. Let's go, Stearns. I still don't think Scooble is happening, but I have been proven wrong many times this offseason, guys. Let's see. Rick Cuban says, we got to find a way of keeping Beatty. I really like his bat. He's always been my favorite baby Met. He's a natural infielder. I would say first base. Also, like some of the other comments. I agree. I've said this since the offseason began. I wanted them to sign Alex Bregman and move Brett Beatty to first base. I thought that was a good deal. I thought that was a good idea. Good locker room guy. Winning guy. Guy has been a part of World Series teams. Good defensive third baseman. And go move Beatty, a lefty, over to first base. But obviously Bregman signing with the Cubs, Bo Bichette instead is not a bad alternative. I still think I would have preferred Bregman, even though he is 5 years older, to Bo Bichette. But I've said it too. Put Beatty at first base. Sure-handed infielder by trade. I think it's a great idea, but we have been told time and time again, Jorge Polanco's the first baseman, at least for the time being. So I'm with you there, Rick. Let's see. Ariella Luanlorian, Duran traded for Vientos and some prospects. That would be nice. I think that they are looking for a much bigger return. I know that prospects could help get that deal done, but we have heard this offseason that the Red Sox are most interested in getting a front of the rotation arm. Now, maybe that has changed because they signed Ranger Suarez. So maybe now the Red Sox asking price on Jarren Duran has changed, and prospects plus a ready plug and play infielder like Mark Vientos, whether that's at first or at designated hitter, works more for Boston's plan moving forward. But it's going to be on the prospect heavy side, no doubt. It's going to require some of the top 10 prospects in the Mets system. Who? I'm not exactly sure. Is it Jet Williams plus Vientos and then maybe an arm? Someone like Santucci, who is the Mets' top left-handed pitcher, so I would prefer not to trade him from their system. But something like that, does that appeal to Boston now? I'm not sure, but I do love that idea of Jarren Duran coming to the Mets without a doubt, putting him in left field. And then I'm feeling better about this lineup. You add Jarren Duran to this group, you put him in left field, you put Brett Beatty at first, and you have Jorge Polanco be the designated hitter. And I'm feeling much better, number one, defensively about this team, but most importantly, about the production that lineup could put out. To be determined if it happens. We shall see. But who else are we missing here? Kev Chada, hearing Nootbaar as a fit for the Mets. I don't know a lot about Lars Nootbaar, but let's go look at him. We have heard him. I don't know if this deal for Bo Bichette changes things, but Lars Nootbaar, career 341 on base percentage. The batting average not nearly as good, but he can draw walks. He can get on base. Here are his numbers. Last year had 13 bombs, drove in 48 runs, 325 OBP. It was a down year for him. I mean, a 686 OPS, an OPS plus of 95. He's not super appealing to me whatsoever as far as his offensive profile. Yeah, career 341 on base percentage. I can appreciate that. In 2024, it was 342. The year before that was 367. That was probably the best year of his career. Most home runs, 14 and 46 RBIs. He's all right. Still puts up a 3.3 wins above replacement, and that's largely because of his contributions defensively. So let's take a look at his Statcast really quick over on Baseball Savant. I'm not even totally sure where he has spent the majority of his career defensively. I know in the outfield, but center field, left field, I'm not completely sure. He's really not a great outfielder either. You look at his fielding, he is a -1 outs above average in the 39th percentile. He has an absolute noodle arm as far as arm value in the 4th percentile, -3. Arm strength, sure, but the value is at -3. So I'll be honest, I am not very impressed by Lars Nootbaar at all. I would rather just go sign Harrison Bader at that point. His fielding here, -4 run value for the Cardinals in 2025. He spent a lot of time in right field, center. He's played all 3 outfield positions. A -3 in outs above average in left field. Somehow only 0, so neutral in center field, and 2 in right field. So very confusing player, and maybe because he didn't spend as much time in center or in right field as he did in left field. But I'm going to be honest, Lars Nootbaar is not someone that I'm going to be super excited about. I'd rather just go sign Harrison Bader at that point, if I'm being completely honest with you guys. Nootbaar, that'd be interesting, but not someone that's going to necessarily wet my whistle, if you know what I mean. Let's see who else we got here. Boyce, hard to say we, quote, lost Tucker when in reality he's not worth $60 million AAV. No, I think it's just all the hype and circumstance that was coming about it, that he was going to probably come to the Mets or the Blue Jays, and for him to go to the Dodgers and just make them infinitely better than they already were than the Mets, it felt like we got robbed, right? And it felt like we were hopeless at this point. But hopefully this Bo Bichette deal is putting them back on the right path, back into the right direction. Still need to have some moves to be made. Two Cats, whoa. Yeah, whoa is right. That's what I said. I was like, this has got to be a fake MLB account when I saw it on Twitter. There's no way this is legit. Bo Bichette to the Mets? What? I thought he was going to be a Philly. Nope. Mets stealing him right out from under Philadelphia. I love it. Guys, a couple more minutes here. Red Horse Adventures. John Heyman says, Will Salmon first on Bichette. Are we surprised? Absolutely not. Will does a great job. Friend of the show, has come on here, done a couple interviews with us. Really appreciate Will's reporting. He is excellent, and hopefully we'll have him again on here very soon. Andrew Faracchio, I'd only move players for someone that is under team control or signing a pitcher long-term that they trade for. So I think Freddie Peralta fits in that mix because it sounds like he is open to an extension. And guys, hey, I don't want to say I said it, but I said it. Okay, I've been saying for a long time now, I think that Freddie Peralta would be open to an extension if he was traded for. And we just heard that yesterday. So I think he fits into that mold for sure. Jarren Duran has 3 years of control left. He's a guy that has a floor as a 4 wins above replacement player, and even a ceiling, I'll put it up to about 7, even though he had a WAR over 8. Finished in like 6th in MVP voting in the American League in 2024. Is coming off a down 2025. Granted, yes, but I think he fits that mold that you're describing as well, Andrew. And guy that, in my opinion, definitely would make this a much more complete lineup. Team Big V, trade for Nootbaar, Donovan, and Romero. I love the idea of Romero. I like Brendan Donovan. Not such a big fan of Lars Nootbaar here. Sal Capella, we need to trade for pitching. There's no doubt. We will see as far as pitching. Maybe it's Peralta, maybe Skubal. I really doubt that. But there's also the idea, just go sign Framber Valdez. He is out there. Of course, now that would significantly hamper the Mets 2026 draft. He has the qualifying offer attached to him. And the Mets just signed Bo Bichette, who had the qualifying offer on him as well. So we would be in the same boat as the Dodgers right now, who, hey, good for them. They can afford to not have a good draft this year because they're looking for their 3rd straight World Series, and they just got Kyle Tucker. They just got Edwin Diaz. Are the Mets of Framber Valdez away from winning the World Series? I don't really think so. And so I don't know if the Mets are going to go into those waters now of signing another player with a qualifying offer attached to them after signing Bo Bichette here. Who else? Kev Chowda, so you're saying Nootbaar is Nimmo 2.0, LOL. I think he's far worse than Brandon Nimmo. Not even close. Yeah, I'm not interested in Lars Nootbaar unless you're basically giving him to the Mets for free. I'm not interested. LGM Soto, JT to Philly. Yes, Realmuto re-upping in Philadelphia. So the Phillies are running it back. Kev John, in my opinion, all teams should make Dodgers the most hit team in MLB history. The most bean team in MLB history. I'm about that. That sounds good to me. Let's do it, right? Guys, we're going to wrap it up here. Breaking news. Did not expect it, but Bo Bichette, 3 years, $126 million to the Mets. Opt-outs after every year. Like I've said, the Mets are not better than the Phillies yet. I'm not even ready to say they're necessarily better than Atlanta, and we know they are light years still behind the Dodgers, but this move does make them a better team, and they still have work to be done. We will see what transpires here next, but this will be your place to catch up on all the latest information around the Mets offseason all winter long. So hit that subscribe button. Go ahead and do that right now if you're not already subbed to the channel. Thank you so much for doing that. Go leave this video a like. Go do that right now as well. That also helps us out here a huge deal. So thank you to everyone for commenting. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Let's hope that this is just the beginning of some more pieces and moves made by the Mets as they look to get back on the path to contention here in the National League in 2026. But that's going to do it for now. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Until next time, I'm Tony Metro. Stay true to the orange and blue.